Moran.
One of my favorite sefarim was the Sefer Chinuch. The Sefer Chinuch, he has for every single commandment, every single positive commandment, and every single negative commandment, he has a reason to explain why it's allowed or why it's expected of you. And there are many, many mitzvot on the night of the Seder. On the night of the Seder of Pesach, there's many mitzvot. The mitzvot that you might have on the night of the Seder are all connected to the idea that Hashem wants us to live like kings. He wants to live like princes. He wants us to act like free men. For example, in the times of the Beit HaMikdash, when somebody was having the Korban Pesach, one of the laws is that you have to eat together with your group, the Korban Pesach. You're not allowed to take from the Korban Pesach outside of the group that you're eating. And if somebody takes out from the area, the Habura of where he's eating the Korban Pesach, he's going to get whipped 39 lashes. Why is it so severe for somebody to take out the kezayit of the Korban Pesach? He's going to get whipped 39 lashes. Why is it so bad?
Hashem
Because
says eat it tonight, no?
What?
Hashem says eat it tonight.
Yeah, but
You
he
don't
ate
have
it
leftovers?
outside. No, not with leftovers. First of all, you can't leave the group.
Yeah.
You can't leave the group. You have to eat it with the group, the Habura that you said, the Korban Pesach. Why is it so important? Because kings and wealthy men, they don't eat alone. Kings and wealthy men don't eat alone. Only poor people and mourners eat alone. And that's why Hashem says if you're going to leave the Korban Pesach, you're not going to sit with the Habura, you're going to get whipped 39 lashes. And another law on the night of the Seder is that you can't leave over the meat of the Korban Pesach. There's a whole other pie inside. You can't leave over the Korban Pesach, the meat of the Korban Pesach, for the next day. And whatever remains, whatever remains, you have to burn from the notar of the Korban Pesach. Why is it important that you can't leave it for the next day? Because the kings don't eat leftovers. And on the night of the Pesach, you're supposed to act like a king. Another law is the night that we became free from Egypt, from Mitzrayim, we merited such high status of being like princes. And that's the reason why you can't break a bone from the Korban Pesach. It's a guy breaks a bone from Korban Pesach, he's hayav 39 lashes. Why so bad to break a bone? Because it's not the way of princes to break the bone to get to the meat that's inside the bone. So we don't want you to do anything that looks like it's not the standard of a king, not the standard of a prince. You know, I remember one time growing up in the community, I remember in Sudah Shlishit, there were some Syrian boys, and they were talking about how the wedding at those days, the place everybody wanted to eat was the Chinese restaurant. That was the hot place. It was a new place in the town, the Shang Mao. And there were certain guys that were starting to make a bet. If somebody is willing to be eating in the Chinese restaurant, to eat alone. Everybody's coming, everybody hang out Saturday night, Sunday night. If you sit there Sunday night when it's packed the restaurant, waiting out the line out the door, and you sit and eat alone in the restaurant, I'll give you $1,000. Nobody's willing to do it.
It's the hardest thing, but it's also good.
Why?
For you.
Because it looks funny. And the ways of princes and kings is that now is the exact opposite. Now you go to a shop, pizza, everybody's sitting alone with their phones. Nobody sits with anybody anymore. But the world changed. This is how it used to be. Now, one of my favorite portions of the Sefer Chinuch is this law. He speaks about the law of not breaking the Korban of the Pesach. And he says, why do we need so many reminders? Why do we need so many reminders of us being free on the night of the Seder? Why do we need so many reminders of us becoming royalty on the night of the Seder? Couldn't just one reminder be enough? Why so many little fine details to tell us how to behave on the night of the Seder? The answer is, Sefer Chilul says, that a way a person behaves is going to make the biggest impression upon him. And if he's going to behave a certain way, his heart and his thoughts are going to follow the way that he behaves. Your heart and your thoughts, they go after your actions. And this is for good and for bad. If you have a wicked person, a Rasha, who is coming to be with good guys, and he's going to pray Shahrit on time, and he leaves Shahrit on time, eventually this person is going to become, from a Rasha, he'll become a Tzaddik. And the other way is also true. If you have a Tzaddik, but he doesn't come and do the mitzvot, he doesn't do the things that are right, he doesn't put on tefillin, he doesn't put on talit, you know what happens to this guy? This guy becomes a Rasha. Which means to us that the way that you think is not according to how you think, it's according to the way you behave. Which we call in psychology today that your physiology will affect your psychology. He says to us, the Sefer Chinuch, this is the reason why it says, Rabbi Hananya ben Akasha Omer, Rabbi Hananya Akasha says, Ratza HaKadosh Baruch Hu lezakot et Yisrael. Hashem, he wanted to make a sweet family. He said, Lefichach yirbalehem Torah mitzvot. He gave them so much Torah mitzvot. You know why? Because when you have Torah mitzvot and you're learning and you're doing the mitzvot, what ends up happening? You have so many things that you're connected with. And these things that you do are all going to bring you closer. The Gemara says in Menachot, anybody who has a mezuzah on his door, and he has tzitzit in his garment, and he has tefillin on his head, he's going to be sure that he won't sin. Why? Wow. These three mitzvot, the mitzvah of the mezuzah is a constant. The mitzvah of tzitzit on the garment is a constant. The mitzvah of tefillin on the head is a constant.
Looking at HCT makes you not want to sin, right?
Also. So since you're doing these mitzvot constantly, so automatically you're not going to be sinning. And this is why you can never rely on your faith alone. A lot of people, they say, yeah, he has faith in the heart. You know, that sometimes they don't dress modestly.
But they have
but they have a lot of emunah. According to this, is not true.
Wow.
It's not true. You know why? Because eventually, the not dressing modestly is going to cause them to affect their emunah as well.
Wow.
So it goes both ways, the outside of
It goes both ways. I say something very scary. We know that it says that in the Pele Yoetz says that a woman's olam haba and a woman's olam hazeh is going to be dependent on her tziniut. On a woman's modesty is her olam hazeh and olam haba.
Wow.
Pele Yoetz, open Pele Yoetz. That's unbelievable. We know that it says that a woman's olam haba is dependent on her waiting for her husband to come back from learning and sending her kids in the morning to learn. But here it's saying something else. It's saying if she's not modest, so something's going to be. Maybe she won't wait for her husband the same way. Maybe she won't send her kids the same way. It's going to affect, has ripple effects on everything. The physiology is going to change your state of mind. A Torah state of mind is a state of mind that is something that needs constant upkeep. You need to constantly do things. Like the night of the Seder, to act like a king in order for you to convince yourself that as if I myself went out of Egypt. The mitzvah on the night of the Seder, the Rambam says you have to imagine that you yourself are leaving Egypt. How do you do that? How do you do that? The answer is by doing the actions. That's going to be the way you're going to feel. If a person, he does the actions of somebody who is a person with hope, he's going to have hope. If a person does the actions of somebody who is feeling depressed, he's going to feel depressed. You know, Avraham Avinu is the master of Kiruv. Et hanefesh asher asu b'haran. What did Avraham Avinu do for Kiruv? What did he do? He set up a shop where there's going to have people could come in the desert. Where did he do it? Outside of Sodom and Amorah. The people are in the desert, don't have food. He set up for them free food. One condition: you have to say Birkat Hamazon. If you didn't say Birkat Hamazon, he's going to charge you like they charge you in the airports. This is the middle of the road. You're stuck. You need food. But if you're going to say the Birkat Hamazon, it's free. Why is that important? Because he knew Avram the secret. if you're going to try to argue with somebody who's not religious, it's not going to work with you. You know why? Because he has so many actions he does that is the actions of somebody who's not religious. But if you want to help the person who's not religious, what do? You set up a situation where he's going to say Birkat HaMazon.
Where he needs
And when he says Birkat HaMazon, then he's going to convince himself. In other words, the greatest way to influence and persuade people is the way what we call consistency. If they start doing something, they start convincing themselves that this is the truth. This is what makes sense. And this is the idea here. What? This is the idea here about how to help a person to change. Is we help a person to change through changing his behavior. When we change your behavior, it's going to change also how a person feels. Rabbi Abasur, when are you starting? Oh, guys, okay, we're going to stop the class.